So you want to do CELTA, but COVID has put paid to a lot of face-to-face courses worldwide. But you still want to do CELTA. And you've heard it's online, but you're not sure what that means. Want more information? I'm Jo Gakonga from elttraining.com. I'm an experienced CELTA tutor, and in this video I'm going to take you through what's the difference between CELTA face-to-face and CELTA online. Let's start at the beginning. CELTA is traditionally a face-to-face course, and about 90% of courses worldwide have been run in this format up to recently. About 10 years ago, Cambridge introduced what they call CELTA Online, but actually it's a blended course. You do online input with videos and forum tasks and readings, but you still spend over half your time in a centre, face-to-face, doing your teaching practice with real learners in a classroom. In March 2020 though, everything changed. Suddenly being in a real classroom became potentially life-threatening, and so out of necessity the fully online CELTA was introduced. At the moment, Cambridge have said it'll just be a temporary measure, but it will be available in centres until at least the end of this year, 2020. So if you want to do CELTA anytime soon, this may be your only option. So what's still the same? Well, basically the course is still the same. The time required is the same, it's 120 hours. The syllabus is still the same. The amount of teaching practice is still the same. The assessment criteria are still the same too. CELTA is carefully standardised by Cambridge, and you'll still be expected to develop the same skills and techniques and develop them to the same level. A lot of tutors that I've spoken to have said that they feel the course really is no different. The other thing, and something which may have worried you, is that the certificate you receive at the end is exactly the same. It won't say anywhere on it that you did the course online or where you did it. So you're probably asking, well, what is different then, apart from the obvious lack of direct physical contact? Not much, in honesty. A lot of courses are being run over a slightly longer time, maybe 4.5 weeks or 5 instead of 4, to allow for some rest days in the middle of the course. And in some centres, they're giving you the opportunity to do some unassessed teaching practice so that you get used to the technology before you start. But apart from that, there really aren't many differences. CELTA courses consist of input, where the tutors teach you how to teach, and teaching practice, where you have to, so to speak, get in the pool and actually learn to swim. In the new online course, the input might be via the online course which was used for the blended CELTA, with video material, guided reading, forums. And some centres are using these materials. In other centres, they're using the same materials they'd use for face-to-face input, but doing these in an online environment like a Zoom classroom. If it's like this, it'll be very similar to the face-to-face course, but just adapted for the online environment. You need to watch your tutors teach, because they'll be doing what's called loop input. That means they'll be teaching you how to teach in the way they want you to teach. So you should take note of what they do and the techniques they use. So that's the input. Now let's look at teaching practice. So that's where you get to teach and watch your peers teach. This will be in a virtual classroom like Zoom or Teams, and you'll still be observed by your peers and a tutor, and you'll still have feedback in a group afterwards online. So is this exactly the same experience as teaching in a real classroom? Of course it isn't, but it's surprisingly similar, and the same sort of techniques are necessary. Clear instructions, concept check questions, keeping learners engaged. There are a few added pitfalls, and I'm planning on making a video about that very soon, so watch out for that one. Are there any advantages to doing your CELTA fully online? The obvious one is that you can do it now in COVID times under lockdown conditions. A few centres are still running face-to-face courses, but not many at the moment, so this may be your only option. The other great thing is that you have a lot more choice about where to do it. CELTA is a very standard product. Cambridge are very careful to make sure that it is. But maybe being able to do it in different centres means that you've got more of a choice of when you do it, perhaps. Also, for many people, doing it online has made it possible when having 4 weeks off work and perhaps having to change location meant that it wouldn't have been. And then, of course, there's the fact that even in post-COVID times, there's bound to be a lot more online teaching than there was before. And so having had some experience of that is bound to be a good thing for you. Are there any problems then? Well, you do have to be a bit more tech savvy than with the face-to-face course, of course. But the tutors will help you to learn the systems. There may be some technical problems that you experience in teaching practice, but again, you'll have support with that, and the tutors will be understanding about technical issues. For me, the big thing to be aware of is that you will be spending a lot of time in front of a screen, and that is more tiring. CELTA's intense however you do it, and adding that extra pressure means that you are going to have to be even more prepared, I think. And then, of course, there's the $64 million question. Won't it be difficult to transition from online teaching to face-to-face teaching when I get a face-to-face teaching job? The main worry that trainees seem to have is whether they'll be able to make that transition to the classroom, I think, and whether employers will be suspicious of the course. I can't speak for all employers, of course, but what I would say is that there are a lot of these courses going on at the moment, so you wouldn't be alone in the job market with that kind of qualification. And it won't say it on the certificate, as I said earlier. Also, although there are differences in teaching face-to-face and online, the principles of good teaching and the techniques you learn are the same. And you also need to remember that CELTA is only designed as a pre-service introductory course to teaching. You're not expected to know everything there is to know about teaching when you finish it. And employers should realise this. Many people are asked to do things after CELTA that they've had no training for. Teaching young learners, teaching business English, teaching academic English, for example. These are very commonly asked of newly qualified teachers. You can learn how to do these things on the job, and you can learn how to teach face-to-face on the job. The reason that CELTA asks you to develop your reflective practice, being able to see what you do well and what you don't do so well and how to improve it, is exactly so that you can continue to learn and develop. I hope that this little ramble has been of some use to you and has given you maybe some reassurance about the online course. Whichever you do, there are lots of materials that will support your CELTA journey on elttraining.com, so go and check out my other courses, and I wish you the very best of luck with whatever you decide to do and with your teaching in the future.